Welcome to our 21st episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I'm Danny Kao.
And I'm Matt Tavesh. Thank you for joining us for episode 20. That's a big number, Danny. 20.
20
feels good. All right. So before we get into the episode, let's talk for a few minutes about a post that you made approximately 4 hours ago in real time. By the time you guys see this episode, it's going to be way longer than that. About maybe handing the reins over to a new, fresh, younger, faster set of hosts for this podcast.
I mean, Ada and I, when we add our age together, we're over 100.
We are over 100 years old. We are.
Did you know that we're over 100 years old?
We are. I didn't realize. Yeah. Wow. We are so wise.
I know.
Ancient.
So now you can go to 3 people with at total to 100. Yeah. I mean, that might be a little bit more fresh.
So yeah, Danny, let's take a few minutes and talk about what is it in the post that you made, and what does that mean for potential people who want to take over the podcast? Can we give them a little kind of a preview, a light preview of kind of what is it that we actually do? Because we don't just jump on here and start talking to each other on the computer. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes beforehand. There's a little bit of technical work, and then there's some editing. There's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of thought as well. So I guess, do you want to just kind of walk through what we do a little bit and kind of just give the people an idea of, hey, this sounds like something I would like to kind of commit to, or hey, that seems like a little much, maybe not for me, that kind of process, I guess.
No, I think that's the entire idea of why we want to do this at the beginning of this particular episode, right? Because it will always be good that we know exactly where everybody's stepping into, right? Just like an autocross race. You don't want to you don't want to go there without any preparation, like your car's not ready, your number's not on, and you didn't walk the course, and you blame everything and say, the thing sucks because I didn't finish first, right? And there's a lot of preparation that you have to go through. So in order to do a good podcast, it's actually similar to going to an autocross.
Yeah, when you think preparation, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So let's talk about it.
You did talk about numbers just now, and it reminded me, do you remember when Dean Mohit put his numbers on backwards and he didn't get times for his? I just wanted to bring that up. As soon as you said preparation and numbers, I couldn't help but think about him.
Yeah, but he prepared for that one, so he can get 20 runs. It's a little different.
He got so many runs.
No, that was a brilliant move. That's like acting you're not prepared, but you're totally prepared.
I'll never forget that, man. It was a what was it? It was a track cross, not an autocross, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm pretty sure he got over 13 runs, and everyone else got like 3.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why your numbers why your runs are not going to record it. I was like, no. Demo Heat, brilliant man.
Brilliant, genius. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let's get back to the podcast. What does it take behind the scenes? What are the steps? Let's start at the very beginning. What are the first things that we do to prepare an episode of the podcast?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is for us to do this particular podcast. First thing that we have to have, which has to come to a consensus, is the format of the podcast. There's no question about that. So what we decided to do is we decided to take this podcast and then put them into segments. And then the reason we do that is, like, a lot of times you've seen all these modern podcasts, just one guy go in and start talking stuff, and or 2 people start conversing and then talk about jokes. I'm sure that they have their formats and then they rehearse and so on, right? So we try to do it's almost like a nightly show kind of a situation where I'm an old timer. So the first show at night I saw was Johnny Carson, right? Oh. You guys probably don't even know what Johnny Carson is.
No, we've heard of Johnny Carson. Okay, we've all heard of Johnny Carson. He was the original late night guy.
That's right. So Johnny Carson then turned into Jay Leno and then David Letterman, so on. So what we have is, so just like Johnny Carson's show, he comes out and do his shtick, right? Talk jokes and all that stuff. Then he started introducing his co-host, Ed McMahon, and Ed McMahon goes, ha ha, right? But anyway, then you move on, and then they always have a special feature or something funny that they do then before they go in to interview their 3 guests. Right. So that's their every night, 1 hour show or 45-minute show that they do. So in our situation, we want to maintain some kind of a consistency by generating a content where everybody gets familiar. So we start with our introduction, and then the first thing we go to is what's coming up on the events that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. The intent is we want to deliver precisely what you're going to be seeing the next 2 weeks. And then if you don't want to hear anymore, it's like, these two events are great, I'm going to sign up. Or these two events sucks, I don't want to be there. Right?
Can I pause you already?
Yes.
I do remember before we even recorded our first podcast, one of the first things you said to me was, when we talk about these events coming up, and you said this, you said, I want to include all of the autocross
Yes.
organizations. And I think that that was very important, because from the get-go, if this is only focused or targeted to one or two or three orgs, I think it kind of dilutes the whole point of what we're trying to do, which is get that information out. And you can't leave bits and pieces of information out. This might be one of the only sources of real news on online. Like, if you think about it,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
It is. And another thing is we have to understand what our goals and objectives are. This is the DMV Autocross podcast.
yeah,
I have people that are coming over to us and say, hey, why don't we talk about all the national stuff?
yeah,
Right. That's not DMV Autocross podcast. Right. And then if you just talk about one group and not talk about the other group, that's also not
it's not
DMV
DME. You're
Autocross
right.
podcast. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So then people come in and says, well, why don't you talk about something that happened in central Pennsylvania? Central Pennsylvania is not in the abbreviation of D or M or V. Right.
It's a little out
Yeah.
of our
That's right.
area, but
That's
it
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean that we don't go up there and autocross.
Exactly. Right. No,
Right.
sometimes we'll mention it or whatever, but we don't. It do not include them in the news unless there's really nothing that's going on that we want to add. People want to venture it out. We talk about Pocono sometimes, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
love it.
yeah. But that's the key. We try to stay with our original goals and objective and the title of the podcast. And after that, Alan's or Addis gynecologist forecast, right?
I don't have a gynecologist, and if I did, it wouldn't be Alan. Okay, can we establish that? Like,
All right. Okay. Understand. All right. Good save. So the thing is with the Allen's weather forecast, it is important because we want to make sure that everybody begin to learn that watching the weather is a very important component in autocross.
it is. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So now hopefully that after 20 episodes, people begin to realize that that's the case. Right.
Mhm.
Plus we're adding Alan in and he's always going to give us something goofy, which is the objective. Right. So then after that, we talk about the results of the previous 2 weeks. And the intent is for everybody who participated normally or frequently in these races, they're going to listen to the first part and the weather part, and they're going to hear themselves be mentioned in their results, right? So that's why these three things are grouped together. And then after that, we talk about features and we have friends episode and we have novice meeting and so on, right? I guess this helps us to kind of organize how our show should be, right? And then that allows us to also record them in segments, right? Which is what we're doing today. We're often recording things in segments. So we might record the same segment, 3 different episodes of the same segment in one night after we did our research and stuff. But we always record the latest and the greatest a couple of days before the show gets released.
All the results are as fresh as possible. All the news is as fresh as possible, right?
That's right. So once the format is established, then we talk about contents, right? So contents, actually, our initial hope is we're doing the content and then we want to make sure that this podcast is everybody else's. So we invite folks to provide their own content, right? That's when folks quickly realize that, hey, I want to do this podcast and let me contribute this content. And then they begin to realize that a 7-8 minute content in a segment takes 5-6 hours to produce. Right. That's because their contents are including interviews and cutouts, and then you have all of that stuff that's going on in the middle of the race. So what Greg did or what Ryan did, we love them to doing that. But we also know that how long it would take. So if you want to do live reporting or whatever, and especially going through interviews of multiple cars, that's hours and hours and hours of preparation. And then you probably didn't realize it until you start doing it. Right. Where what we're recording with our contents and stuff like that, it also takes a bunch of time to kind of post process, but at least the recording part is not as complicated. And there's very minimal amount of cutting that we have to do because it's not live. Right. Yeah. So, and then after the contents and then I think we should talk about what do you use, the technology side.
Yeah, we have a few tools. Sure.
Yeah. So, and of course, that was a learning process. When we first started, Adam and I were talking about using Audacity.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but unfortunately, Audacity was just going to be an audio type of thing. And so we talk about how do we record videos. Right. And then very quickly, we thought about jumping to Zoom. Skype or Zoom
Yep.
or whatever, right? And then basically just use the Zoom recording meeting as the feature. And while I was doing researches, and because I didn't feel like paying for Zoom, I discovered this product called Squadcast, which is what we're on now.
Yep.
So what's nice about Squadcast is it's designed for just podcast purposes, right? So when Ada and I are talking about and generate a video, instead of merging our videos together in a single video like Zoom, they're actually in two separate
Yep.
video and audio recordings.
Exactly.
So what that means is for the most simple things, I can actually do picture in picture with Ada. We can merge it side by side. I can make Ada's picture smaller and then bigger. I can mute Ada and Ada can mute me, So, and then if we did something wrong, and then since these two videos are all synced together at the same time, if I do one edit against a project, and then both sides gets edited at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's extremely important because you will see that sometimes if our internet connections are slow, we lose our connections. I lose my video, but my voice is still there. And you can still see that the show continues.
Yep.
Instead of everything just kind of goes to, we got to re-record, right?
It happened a few times where you threw up a sweet picture.
Absolutely. Right. So that's the technology we use. At the same time, what was also interesting is I didn't realize that Squadcast was owned by a company called Descript. So Descript is an amazing editing tool. So what we do for every episode is once we record our videos in Squadcast, we load all the videos, Ada's, mine, or whatever the guests we have. I load them all into Descript as a project. And then Descript automatically takes all the videos and then and basically does voice recognition and then turn them into scripts. So after I feed the videos into a project within a few minutes, the project will come out and will actually say, Ada, here's what Ada's saying. Here's what Danny's saying. Here's what the other guest is saying, or Alan's saying. It just automatically puts them into the scripting format. And then once they're in the script, the beauty is we just go in there and edit the script. So we just do text edit. So in this particular case, I'm going to have to say, or a bunch of, right? Yeah. So in this particular case now, when I edit this, since I just say those words, I'm not going to take the out.
If you did, it'd just be like,
yeah, exactly. No, actually, it would be all cut out,
just
right?
cut the whole thing. Oh, right.
The video is going to get cut out.
Yep.
So it'd be like, so sometimes if you see a video, like I'm talking and go like that,
and it
like that,
jumped,
right? Yeah. When my face jumped, that's when the ums or getting cut out, right? During the editing process. So that's why, like, both Ada and I realized that. So now we're talking with our heads like almost stationary now, right? So if I add in this thing, my face actually doesn't change, and sometimes it's so good because if you stay stationary and don't do crazy things, I'm moving my hands right now, right? It actually, the edit is actually pretty seamless.
I have a hard time standing still.
Yeah. So sometimes you see me standing still because I'm fat and lazy, but Ada can moving around.
No, I'm oh man, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Right. So now once we edit this process, and then obviously whenever we have a Daniel McFarlane introduction, or on the last episode when we talk about the cars I own, I put pictures and all that stuff. That's not done in Descript. So what I do is once the recording part is done and it's edited in Descript, I render or export into MP4s. And once I put them into MP4s, I feed them through a video editor, right? So I have my own video editor, which is a really old one that I've been using for years and years and years. So I feed it through that. And then if I want to insert a picture, or if I want to insert a live video that Shane or Danny McFarlane goes through to talk about in their episodes, that's actually post-process on top of what a Descript output or video is. And then I use that, the software I use is called Power Director. It's a PC app. So then at the end, with all of these script or Squadcast generated videos or projects, they're probably in 7 or 8 different short videos. And then I lace and put them all together into one final product. And then I render YouTube videos, portion of it. And then I strip the video out and just use the audio. Then I get the audio piece of it, right? So the YouTube video, I usually pre-upload, and then I set the time to go live. And then we go live at a particular time. So I make the announcement. So the announcement of the video goes live at the same time. The audio portion of it is actually another extra step because there are so many other podcast, places now. Only even though I think our podcast has only been downloaded, maybe like every episode on the average is between 40 to 50
on
downloads, right?
like Spotify.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but I upload them into Spotify, Samsung Podcasts. Sometimes I put it in Apple Podcasts, and there are quite a few other podcast platforms. And so, what I end up using is I use this service called RSS. So I upload the video I upload the audio into RSS, and then within RSS, I decide which platform it wants to get updated to, and then I just publish in RSS, and then everything gets published onto the rest. So for traditional audio podcasts, if we just want to deal with that, I can skip the YouTube and then don't shoot a video,
Mm-hmm.
and just publish into RSS. And in that case, we can probably even do it in Audacity instead of doing a Squadcast or a Descript,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what's on the background on how we do things. And then I know we talk about 10-minute thing, but now we're like 18, 19 minutes into this. But I just want to quickly wrap up the time that it takes. Obviously, for each episode, sometimes our episode gets up to about an hour and 50 minutes,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's 110 minutes of content, right? And that's excessive, I think, right? Our initial goal was 30 minutes. But between me and Ada, there's no way we're going to end anything in 30 minutes, right?
Up until now, we're
You might.
we're like 18, 19 minutes in, and we haven't gotten to the podcast episode.
That's right. But somebody could do that, right?
Yeah, we believe in you, whoever you
yeah,
are.
Yeah. So somebody could say, well, this is a bunch of BS, and then I want to get on a different car. I don't want a Supra. No,
no.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about.
But you see, you can condense it and do whatever. You can cut to any kind of a format. There's no fixed things. Just like there's no fixed way of you have to follow anybody else's format. So if you're interested in continue on and carry the torch with this podcast starting January 2025, please let us know. We can show you everything that we've been doing and then kind of explain the format or reasoning and rationale. But that all can be changed. The technology can change. Everything else can change. But if you want to maintain any kind of a stuff or learn some of the stuff that we've already done, right, we'll be more than happy to help. And we're not going anywhere.
We're not.
Right.
Be right
we're
here.
just taking a break.
We can show you how we make our pizza, but you're allowed to make your own pizza.
That's right. We made deep dish pizza a few times, and it's not very good.
Do you remember when we drove to Chicago and got the Chicago deep dish? That was something else, man.
That was too much.
It was crazy that that's what they feed people over there.
I know.
Like I was like, I can't eat this.
Yeah. That's why all the fans of the Bears are
the Bears. Oh, you just
once again, we're not going anywhere. We're happy to help.
Yeah.
If you need technical assistance, we have that. And then as far as equipment and all that stuff is concerned, if you work remotely from home, other than this microphone, right? I didn't buy anything other than this microphone. The camera was already there. The computer's already there.
I didn't buy a single thing. I already have the camera.
Yeah. Adam's already have that. I actually bought this.
You bought the light. Yeah, that was nice.
This cool light over here.
That's a cool light.
Yeah. So I do like that. Other than that, if you're interested to continue to torch, and even if you want to participate in any kind of a limited format, please let us know. It is time consuming, but the time consuming is directly related to the size of the podcast, right? So if I don't blah, 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 blah for the last 20 minutes, if you just talk about it for 2 minutes, you just save 90% of the effort.
Oh, man.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. And if you don't know if you're interested, if you might be interested, reach out. You never know. There might be, Danny and I have been doing this for almost a year now, and there's only 2 of us. But even with there being only 2 of us doing the majority of the work, we still have Alan supporting us and backing us up. We had Pollock sending in the videos. We had St. Louis sending in the video. Like, it's still a community effort. So don't feel like, oh, I don't want to sit here and if it's interesting, reach out and it doesn't hurt. So
yeah. I mean, for sure, because if we don't have the ability to continue talking, we can always try to solicit somebody else's help, right? Yeah. So either way, it takes up time. It's either us talking that takes up the time, or we try to find somebody else to do the talking, and then it takes up the time.
Nice.
So the time is always going to be spent, and then remember, this is a 100% volunteer position. But if you are excellent at podcasting, right?
Mhm.
And then if you can leverage it and bring thousands of viewers and all that stuff, then that's great, right? But for us, I speak for myself, I'm sure Ada feel the same way. We never had any intention of monetizing
No,
this.
never. No. That would
We're
defeat
just
the
here.
purpose for you and me. That
Yeah,
doesn't that's
exactly.
not what we're trying to do.
We're 100% here to make sure that we're conveying the right information and hope our listeners will like this and participate in
I,
autocrosses and the DMV area.
Danny, I
Yeah.
feel like let's talk about that for a split second. I feel like that to me is this is more like a volunteering. I feel like it's a community
Yeah.
service. I do not the monetizing aspect of this podcast makes no sense to me. Right?
No.
Like this
Yeah.
podcast is for the 200 of you that listen. That is it.
Yeah.
It's for this community and hopefully that 200 number turns to 250 or 300 or 400,
Yeah.
not to 10,000 because there aren't 10,000 autocrossers in the DMV area. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, like I don't mean to sound like I'm, you know, deflating the balloon, but this is for us and you guys. That's it. You know,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's my, and you can't monetize off of 400 views, 500 views. That's not how
No.
that
Yeah, we
works.
won't.
So,
And we would never do this unless like Greg Jones guild us into it. So
Greg Jones.
yeah. Anyway, we like the viewer numbers to go up, but we like we like those numbers to be actual autocrossers that
Yes,
actually
in the
participate.
like you,
So
literally you that who's listening. That is it. That's
that's
our
right.
goal. So
That's right. All right. So with that said, please, if you have any questions or anything, if you're interested, please contact me and Ada. And then now we're back to the regular schedule program already in progress.
yay!
Welcome to our 21st episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I'm Danny Kao.
And I'm Matt Tabesh. Thank you for joining us on episode number 20. So, Danny, is it just me, or are there a lot of events going on? It feels like we are in the middle of the season right now.
Well, it's all you, Ada. You're changing and building cars, buying new tires, going to F1 in Austin, going to Kentucky for the SCCA Time Trial Nationals. The only person that's busy is you.
So are you, you're literally doing almost all of these things with me.
Well, just to make sure you're okay, we will make sure that you have your own personal hemorrhagologist
Oh,
traveling with us to Kentucky. For the rest of us, we're chilling and getting ready for the holidays.
can I just go off script for a second? Damn it,
Yeah.
Greg Pollock. Why did you teach him about hemorrhoidologists? That's all he's been talking about for 2 days straight. Hemorrhoids. Okay.
I don't even know there's a hemorrhagologist.
Okay, in the interest of time, let's just get going. I still have to put my wing back on.
All right. Okay. The autocross season's winding down, but we still have a full weekend of autocrosses in store for you. This Saturday is the Mercedes Club event number 8 on the Washington Circuit at Summit Point. The event is sold out long ago, and lots of season autocross are going to get more autocross in before the end of the year. I see Patrick Gaffney, Marcus Pine, Greg Pollock, the hemorrhagiologist.
He's not
Cody
he's
Hunt.
just the one that came up with it, I think.
He's the inventor of the hemorrhage. Right. Cody Hunt, Rick Newman, and Brian Carwin were all fighting for the fastest time of the day. Look for some gamesmanship of people fighting to run later when the temperature gets warmer. Fortunately, Mercedes runs morning and afternoon, so that balances out. Ada?
Following Sunday is the last Chesapeake PCA event at Bowie. We see Mike Tavner registered without David Critcher. So obviously he has some bad FTD intentions. Calling Dave Critcher to make this a race. Should we use a Batman spotlight to call Dave Critcher? I think that might work.
That's right. So speak of Batman spotlight, it's time for me to shine our weather spotlight to get our weather Batman to tell us what to wear. So without further ado, please put our hands together and welcome Ada's hemorrhagologist, Alan Claffey.
It was such a good segue from Batman spotlight, and then just
The hemorrhage spotlight.
It's like the grossest ologist like we've had yet. He's a meteorologist. I don't know.
They know words, right?
Like,
That's
I don't
because
know.
Alan is your emergency assistant.
Oh my god.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Anna. It's Alan. I'm indoors at the Weather Terrace here in beautiful Waldorf, Maryland. I wanted to do it outdoors. It's a little cold out, and my neighbors are into diesel trucks. Doesn't work well for an audio experience. So we're here in the garage. We got championship winning car here. Oh, it's so pretty and not clean at all. But not today's problem. Let's think about weather, because we just got done with our Waldorf SCCA season, and it was gorgeous on Sunday. If you missed it, you missed one of the best days of the year. Sunny and 75. Can't go wrong. So, enough of looking back. Let's look forward. And forward we have, on the October 19th, it's a Saturday, Mercedes Club is running at the Washington Circuit at Summit Point, and it's going to be really nice. Sunny and 71. Small problem. Low temperatures are going to be in the 30s. So that morning is going to be brisk. You're going to have to layer up, get those tire blankets, have a co-driver, make a friend. The next day, Sunday, October 20th, the PCA Chesapeake will be at the Bowie Baysox Stadium. Again, a nice day, sunny, 74, low temperature of 44, so not quite as bad as Summit. So that's good. Get there, enjoy that one. And when we're going to look forward, there's nothing else on this local schedule for the next weekend. Some of us are going to be going out to the Corvette Museum track for SCCA's Time Trial Nationals, and I have very happy news to report on that. It's going to be in the 70s for the 4 days we're there, and I don't see any rain in that forecast, so that makes me very happy. And my glasses are down. Anyway, on that happy note, I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to send it back to Danny and edit in the studio, and I'm going to think about maybe cleaning a car. It's too cold. We're going to have dinner and watch a baseball game. I'll see you guys later. Have fun with cars. All that good stuff. Bye.
Thank you, Alan. Saturday, October 5th was the NCC BMW number 5 event. 86 competitors competed and participated in a nice day. There's one more BMW event left to close out the season, so register now to get your last 2024 Autocross season fix. The top 10 fastest times are: first one to Marcus Pine, 2 went to Walter Lunsman, 3 to the inventor of the hemorrhologist, Greg Pollock, 4th is Howard Lincoln, 5th is Jen Fox, 6th is Steve Mitchell, Joe Vangren is 7th, John Latenzio is 8th, Christopher Moody's 9th, and Rich Johnston is 10th.
Last Saturday, Brandywine Motorsports Club held its last event at Ripken Stadium in Aberdeen, Maryland. Our friend and previous guest, Lenny Woolcock, had a fantastic 2 days racing in his RX-8 in STX. The course was tight and fast, about halfway in. The fastest times are Mike Moran, Marcus Pine, Tom Carroll, Lenny Woolcock, Jen Fox, Greg Jenkins, Dave Critcher, Greg Pollock, Craig Marhefka, and Ken Roller round out the top 10. The top 10 packs, however, are Ken Roller, Lenny Woolcock, Marcus Pine, Jason Harnish, Craig Marhefka, Jen Fox, Greg Pollock, Elizabeth Sharp, Don Craven, and Alex Maramo.
So on the same day, PCA Potomac held its Autocross number 7 event on the Washington Circuit at Summit Point. This is the last event for the 2024 season. The big news is the PCA Potomac's fearless leader, Bill Conley, is retiring and passing the torch on to Jeff Gary. We would like to thank Bill for coming to our podcast and share the ins and outs of the club and congratulate him, and finally he can race in peace without hurting cats. Our on-field correspondent, John Brankowicz, provided the result for us, and the top 10 fastest times are Howard Lincoln, Samir Shadani, Ken Wojcik is 3rd, Kevin Kitty 4th, Steve Mitchell's 5th, John Clay 6th, Niles Johnson is 7th, Michael Einesish, I can never pronounce his name.
Let's just move on to 9th.
Okay, let's move on to 9th. Pinto Sewing, I know Pinto. And 10th, finally breaking into the top 10 is Amanda Addington. Congratulations, Amanda, for breaking into the top 10. And since this concludes the PCA Potomac season, we have the final standing to report. We kicked off with John Brankowicz just winning the guest class, and Niles Johnson wins Improve. Danny Kayo wins Modified. Hey. Patrick Koth wins P2. P3 goes to Fong Nguyen. P4 is Bill Conley. P5 is Patrick Gaffney. S1 went to Brandon Jones. S2 went to Paul Brockman. S3 went to John Clay. S4 winner is Kevin Keaty, and rounding out S5 is Howard Lincoln. And congratulations to all the season winners.
That's awesome. Congratulations. This past Sunday's WDCR Autocross at Waldorf was another great course built by Bill Stockton. We had newbies, young guns, middle-aged club leaders, and old farts like Danny and Big Mike Snyder, Brian Garfield, Pat Griffith, in attendance. It was great. Even Miss National Champion Karen Kraus made a surprise appearance, and that was her first autocross in 10 years. Everyone had a fun day to close out the season. There were 3 big battles to determine class winners. In DS, Greg Sharp tied with Jay Lyons going into the final event, and Greg laid out a commanding 44.2 to take the win for the race and the season. In HS, it was back and forth until the very end, which Andres Rodriguez inched ahead of Daniel McFarland for the class win. STH points leader Al Pacheco controlled his own destiny, but his corded Kumo V730s weren't fast enough for the hard-charging Mark Gange. Elizabeth Sharp and Karen Kraus and Mark Gange is your STH season champion for 2024. Your top 10 PAX winners are Brian Carwin, Christopher Can, Lenny Wilcock, Marcus Pine, Dustin Grubbs, Greg Pollock, Craig Marhefka, Mark Canacarante, Matt Huffman, and Samir Thandi round out the top 10 PAX. This is the season-ending event for the WDCR, and they had 6 events for the year. The season championship trophy criteria are attending at least 4 events in the class, 1 event drop, and counting points up to 5 events.
1 drop instead of 2 drops.
I thought it was 2. Oh, okay.
Oops.
Okay. All right. You want to cut this part out if you can.
No. You don't have to cut this part out.
All right.
Because
Well,
we were told
I thought
it was 2 drops, so now it's 1 drop.
Did they change it, or was it always just 1? Oh, baby. Johnny 5 alive. Oh. With this scoring system, here are the class winners for 2024 WDCR. SS goes to Pat Gaffney. AS is Craig Marhefka. BS Logan Davies. CS Jack Chrissy. DS Gregory Sharp. ES Cody Brobston. FS Clyde Kaplan. GS Dustin Grubbs. HS Andres Rodriguez. SSC Bill Stockton. STH Mark Gange. STS Stephen Courtney. STX Matt Huffman. STR Marcus Pine. STU Sean Glazer. CSP Tom Carroll. DSP Damon Lowney. XA Jeremy Hubble. XB Alan Claffey. EVX Martin Heisen. CP Pat Griffith. SSM Dave Lane, my man. CSX Caleb Bailey. SSCL Abby Stockton. Congratulations to all the winners. What a fantastic season. And this concludes our racing report for the week. So congrats, everyone. Okay, so for our feature of the week segment, we would like to cover an interesting, informative, or fun topic which could benefit all autocrossers. In this episode, we're going to continue to cover the next set of Danny's autocross cars. This is the shifter kart period for Danny between 2009 and 2011, where he raced 4 shifter karts in 3 solo nationals. So this is fun, Danny. You started with the cars, and then a lot of people met you as the kart man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird because you know what? After you race for about a couple of years, then you realize that if you want to have a lot of fun, and then you also ran out of money, which is normal, right? The best place to go through is karts. So at the time, there were so many people here racing karts that there was one event that would have 24 people in karts.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I was one of those guys that got recruited by Brian Garfield. But at the time, there were constantly 6 or 7 people doing karts, DC area. Yeah. And then I joined, and Edwin and Justin, both joined. And then before you know it, we have 12, 13 people. And then other people from other regions, from Philly regions and different places got hold of this. So now they start showing up at our events. And then before you know, we have 24 people in our events.
I feel like that's one of the things that makes autocross very fun when you have a bunch of people in your class, right?
Oh, yeah.
That, it adds to that excitement. You learn more. Everyone gets faster together, right?
Right.
So
picture
sounds like a lot.
So picture 24 carts. You know what 24 carts is like?
Deafening.
24 carts in both the PCA and Mercedes world is one entire heat.
Oh my Lord.
Right?
That's amazing.
It's the entire heat. And then in the WDCR type of situation, picture the first road of all of the cars
All
You
of
know,
the
right
parts.
now you have 2 drivers and you have one row of cars and you have another row of cars. Picture that whole entire row of cars are all carts. That's what it was like before, which is
Oh, man.
pretty outrageous. You know, we got our own paddock because nobody wanted to sit right next to us because when we start the engine, it's super loud and smoky.
Oh, there's oil in the air. I can't.
Yeah,
my
there's all
eyes are
kinds of
bleeding.
people running around, and then the only people like doing that kind of stuff are the carters. Nobody else likes it, so we band together as a small crowd.
Okay, so you mentioned Garfield. You
Yes.
said, did you just say that he got you in? Is that how you got into karts?
Yeah. So the entire Garfield family was racing karts.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, Brian Garfield was racing, in F125. And then Elisa Garfield also raced in F125 locals.
Mhm.
And when she goes
Nice.
to national championship, she raced in the ladies class for F125, which is the karter. F125 is the new KM, which is the kart class.
Okay.
Right. And then Julian Garfield was racing, both of them, when I first met them, I think they were racing in Formula Junior B. They call it
Mhm.
FJB. And then Julian turned 8 years old. And so he went to Formula Junior A, and Carson stayed in B. And then as they get older, they progress 8, 9, 10 years, or 11, 12, 13, 14. They just kept on moving up out of the juniors.
Yeah.
So I think Formula Junior B might be 11. I mean, A might be 11. And B might be 8 to 11. And then there used to be a Formula Junior C.
Wow.
Way back then.
And they were
So it's
tiny.
FJB, FJABC. And then they
Wow.
dropped the F. So then it's JAJB. And I don't really remember if JC got moved over.
Hmm.
And then eventually, due to participation and safety concerns, and then a junior program was abandoned ultimately. Yeah. But when I started, it was the start of the Formula Juniors. And then when I ended, it was a heyday of the Formula Juniors. Eventually, once I left the karting, and then JAJB went on for quite some time. And then before they stopped the program. Yeah.
Okay.
So for us, we race F125, which is a 2-stroke Honda 125s that comes out of the CR125 Hondas. So Honda makes a CL125, and then back in the day, they were using 2-strokes XL or XR 125s. Those are all 2-stroke 125cc motors, and that's the standard motor for most of the karts. Then until later, they came in other karts that has electric starts and so forth.
Why the hell did you have 4?
I just like the way it look.
But they all look the same.
They don't look the same.
They don't look the same.
Like some of them has like really, really cool side pods.
But those are like little
the frame
plastic things
designs
you
are
just put
different.
on.
Yeah. And then the
Oh.
tubing is different too. Some tubings are thinner, some tubings are thicker. Some
Okay.
of them are built for a little heavier people that's a little bit stiff in the frame. And then some of them, has lighter frame, but then you can put a bigger sway bar to control the sway on the back. There's all kinds of funky design in there.
Do they weigh the carts? Is
Oh
that
yeah. So
part of the rule?
they have blade. They have the way that they control the stiffness of the sway bar. For the back is the sway bar instead of a bar, it's a bar that come across that looks like a blade. So I'm going to use my phone, so it's like a blade like this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's connected to the back. So guess what position this is? Is this a soft position or a stiff position?
That's stiff.
No, that's soft. Because what happens when a car bends, it bends like this. When you lift it up like this, now it's in a super stiff position.
So that's most stiff.
Yeah. So this is how you control sway bars.
Wow,
Right.
that's pretty cool.
And then, if you want to make any kind of a camber adjustment, they have these pills on the top of the control arms, right?
Mhm.
So they can rotate the pill to change the angle, of the front wheel. And of course, they can turn the other way and also change the caster as well.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then so there's no suspension. So but any kind of a change and all that stuff is done on a lot of karts are done on a pill. Basically, the top mount that you can rotate by changing the whole position. Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, right. And then, of course, ride height differences can be controlled. That you can stack spacers. Yeah, to get up and
That's
down, right?
That's awesome.
And then you want to change the row center, right? Or the front and rear bias, right?
Yeah.
Guess how you do it.
Just put the weight in the front space or in the rear space. Just
No.
change that rate? Is that what
You
mean?
just change your seating position.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
the way it
God.
goes front and back. So
I was literally thinking about Red Bull rake. Like,
yeah. So
Are
back
they-
in the day when I raced, I mean, the total weight cannot exceed of you and the car cannot exceed, I think, 385 pounds for CR125s.
Okay.
And then for Rotax cars, I think it's 425 or something like that. For different type of motors, they use weight limits to control and basically create parity or for fairness of competition.
So
Right.
not just maximum weight, minimum weight.
Yeah, so they use minimum weight. And the CR125 is 6 speed. Guess how you change the gear ratio?
How do you change it?
You change the gear. Well, I mean, it's literally
Gear?
a motor that drives a chain, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
You
say,
just change the size of the
just
change the
change
size of
one-
the gear, and that's it.
one gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you change the motor side or the drive side or whatever.
Well, it's easier to change on the side that's on the shaft, right?
There you go. So that's
Yeah.
one gear change.
Right.
Done.
Or what you can do is you have to work with chains and disconnect chains, reassemble chains, make sure that the motors, I guess so instead of a pulley that, on the engine that you can pull, that you can use it, that you can make adjustments,
Mhm.
right? And then all you do is just move the motor forward and backward to tighten the chains.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very,
Oh, that's
very,
really cool. That's
I
actually
mean,
really cool.
it's very, very like rudimentary.
Just move it forward, lock
Right.
it in.
Exactly.
Nice
You
and
move the
tight.
motor forward if you want to,
Yeah.
tighten the
Yeah.
chain up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm imagining it, and then
That's
you just
right.
lock
Guess
it.
how you
tighten
shut the
it down,
motor down? How do you cut the motor? Guess.
Turn the air off to choke. I don't know.
No. So what you do is on
Oh,
the air
really?
intake, right? You
Mhm.
put your hands over and cover the air intake, and there's no
Oh
air
my
to stop
God.
the car to death, right? Yeah.
That's
So and then you have to prime the car to get started, right?
Mhm.
So if you didn't start a car for weeks and weeks and weeks, it takes a little time to kind of prime. So we use this stethoscope. I mean, not a stethoscope, but what's that thing that like a scissor that you can hold?
Pliers.
Yeah, not pliers, but you can hold things in position. It's like a surgical.
Oh, like the clamps.
Yeah, like a surgical clamp.
Clamps. Yeah.
So
Yep, yep.
basically, we will pull the throttle open up a little bit and then clamp it on it, so the throttle cable is a little bit open, and then that's how we start the car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we start a car by basically put the car in second gear, right? Give it a little throttle, right? And just spin the tire. So the easiest way to do it is we take a 4x4, right? A small section of 4x4. Then you let it sit on the rear sway bar so both rear wheels off the ground, right?
Mhm.
And if you're really getting good at it, you can just take your hands and spin, and that will start the car. And then for some of our wusses, like myself sometimes, we would take a strap and just strap the tire
Tie it around
and
it
just
and
pull
then
the
just
strap.
pull.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's similar to starting a lawnmower.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's really a lawnmower on four wheels, and then it runs pretty fast. That's essentially what the carts are. So I just switched to 4 different carts. Most of the time I change it because it looks a little bit different, right?
All right.
Yeah.
I thought you could just change those body panels. I didn't even realize they had different body or frames and
Yeah, they all come with different
that's so
body work.
cool.
I mean, most of the time you can just mount any kind of a body work onto any kind of a cart, and there's
Mhm.
some universal body works. But as you're getting more and more into it, there's some body works with a little bit more aerodynamic. There's some lighter body work where I at that time I only weighed about 180 pounds at a time, because
Nice.
that was the best way to kind of lose weight, because I know that the lighter I am, the better my car is going to perform, because I can have
Mhm.
better weight distribution. So I would start myself as a carter, and then instead of weighing 200 pounds, I would weigh like 175 or 180 pounds while I was doing karting.
That's
Right.
awesome.
So I did that for 3-4 years, and then that was a lot of fun. And then those classes are still around, right?
Mhm.
The only problem is you would need a truck to carry the carts around. So I
Right.
really didn't have a trailer initially. All I had was a Toyota Tundra. So what I did was I put a cab over the top of my Tundra, so it's it's weatherproof, right?
Mhm.
So I did 2 things. What I did was build a platform, like a deck, inside of my truck bed, right?
Mhm.
So when you open up the cab opening, I have storage on top and I have storage on the bottom. So for a while, if I was carrying another car for, like, let's say Newman or someone,
Mhm.
right, I would put one car on the top and one car on the bottom.
Oh,
So I can carry
nice.
2 carts. But most of the time what I would do is I would put one car in the bottom, and then I have it's like a cart lift, like a cart.
Mhm.
They can push the carts around,
Yeah.
and then you can actually hook it on the bottom of the car and pull it back and actually put the car on the car so you can start rolling around. So
Mhm.
that's exactly the same height as the opening of my truck. So what I do is I push that right into the back of the truck, and then I shoved my cart in. And then on the top, I can put all my racing gear,
Oh, nice.
gas, the
Mhm.
carts I have, all the tools and all that stuff sitting on top. And then that's also the time that I started volunteering for the DC Autocross School.
Okay.
And so much so that I was actually carrying all the cones for all the school, the timing system,
Wow.
cones and all that stuff. They were all mine. It was in my house. I carried them. Right.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the school, there's always some playing time for the instructors or volunteers. So this is what I did. I put my cart at the bottom. I put all of my stuff in the inside of my truck, gearing or suit and all that. And on the top shelf, I put all the cones and all the timing systems there. So I have a rolling autocross setup cart.
That's awesome.
With my race car inside, right? All that inside of a pickup truck. And then later on, I bought a small enclosed trailer that I can put 4 carts in.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's the time that we did a lot of national events in cars. Justin, Klein, and Edwin, and us 4, we did this a lot. So basically, we all signed up to go to Blytheville, we signed up to go to Toledo, whatever, right? Everybody have the carts, and everybody congregate at my house. We all push the carts inside of the trailer, and the Garfields do that too because they also carry 4 carts. And then everybody just sit in my truck, and we put everything on the back of the truck because now everything's in the trailer. And then that's how we go to different races and have a great time.
So that's fun. That's fun.
No, so that's why I mentioned that those are the best time that, the most fun I've had in autocrossing. That literally is what it was, right?
That's so cool.
So we will go to Blytheville. We'll rent one hotel. We'll rent one motel room that we paid $50 for 4 of us. Right. And then across the street, they were selling drugs, and then they were having some kind of a gangster wedding. And they were just screaming and yelling until 2 a.m. And then the 4 of us were hiding in a room, like, please don't shoot us.
God. Those are celebratory gunshots. When it's a wedding,
exactly. It was like a wedding gunshot. Yay. It's like Yosemite Sam. Those are the most fun days. And we were raced in the rain. It would be pouring rain. And then, of course, the car goes in there. It's like your car goes in there, you hydroplane a little bit. We drive into a puddle. It's like we go into a lake.
A lake.
Right?
Yeah, it's like an actual lake.
And as soon as we go through, the car just goes, because the intake is taking all the water in. So that's the end of that. Yeah. And then sometimes, like the car will break and then we couldn't start. And sometimes we get so mad that I remember Justin, I think one time that he got so mad at Toledo, he was going to drive on a highway and just throw the car out, just push the car outside. Right. But throughout the whole entire time, we learned quite a few tricks. We learned that if we go to this site, this is the main jet and this is the pilot jet. Right. And then we try to determine exactly, how much jetting that we can use that's right at the right spot where you can basically run at just about anywhere in the East Coast because the altitude is the same, right? If you go to, somewhere that's at 2,000 feet high, that's a little bit different. So we found a good settings for both our pilot and main. So we don't change the pilots and main that much. And then the other thing that I do a lot of times is, let's say if the race is on a Sunday, on a Saturday, I will pull the car out and then I will do all my maintenance, make sure bearings right, the tires are fine. If I need to mount tires, what do I do? And then I would start the car, make sure the car is idling, everything else fine, right? And then I put it back in. So the next morning when I get to the event, I spin, it fires right up, and I run. There's no issue, right? So I do a lot of cart maintenance, and that was one of the things that I learned to maintain my cart in that transferred the same skills into maintaining my real race car. Nowadays, before I go to a race, I worked on everything. I make sure everything's fine before I take it out to the race itself. So I would always pass tech. The car will always run, and the pressure is always right. The tire's always in good condition, and everything there was what I learned, from the days of racing karts.
I have some questions for you.
Yeah,
and I don't know. You might not know the answer, or you might know the answer. This is very hard questions.
Yeah.
Around here, where can someone race a go-kart?
So, you can take them out to autocrosses. I think the Waldorf you can race them at Waldorf.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with the BMW folks, you can ask them. I think I've seen guys race at BMW there.
Okay.
But it might be I'm sure it's going to be an organization. Each organization will allow certain things. I haven't seen anyone at BMW or Mercedes racing karts. You have to remember, when you race karts, you're creating, in certain places, especially back in the Formula Junior days, when the juniors are running, nobody else can run.
Of course. Yes.
So a lot of people are not happy, right? Because they can't run. So the way that the WDCR or the SEC, the DC region of SCCA did was they dedicated a block of time for juniors. So it's always after lunch between 1 to 1:30.
That was my work assignment more often than not.
Right. So
Because
what
I
you
would cover like a quarter of the whole autocross. I would run so
Yeah.
far and fast.
yeah. So
Now
if there are
I
5
can't
worker
anymore.
stations, they just have one person working
Yep.
there.
Yep,
So you
I'll
get
go by myself.
Yeah, so you get 5 people working the course. Then the starter is still the starter. The timing's still timing. So if you work the Formula Junior by yourself for that half an hour and 45 minutes, that's your work assignment. So in many ways, that's a very cushy assignment.
In other ways, I remember pushing lots of carts very far.
That's also possible. But for the kids, usually don't push, right? Because
Yeah.
because majority of the kids at the time, they were running on KT100s. What they need is a electric start. I mean, a actual
that's
starter.
actually- yeah. Yep.
So their parents will run out on the course and then stick it in
Mhm.
there and start. But if they can run something like World Formula, by Briggs and Stratton, then it's a button that you start and then the button that you shut, right? So that's a much better solution. But that came in later.
Hmm.
Yeah, that did not. That when I first started, everybody was on KT100s and CR125s. So
That was fun.
yeah, so those are my karting days. I didn't really went through and explain what each kart does, right? But right now there's still a large contingent of the F125 or KMOT people in Philadelphia, and the reason for that is because when DC was running at its height of its thing, and there were 4 or 5 guys from Philadelphia, right?
Mhm.
They want to come in and join and run shifter carts. So they started it. And then some parents saw they're having a good time. So then they started they want to start their Formula Junior program. And then at the time, DC's Formula Junior champion is Julian Garfield, right? So they will come in and the Brian Garfield, and then they will come into schools. Or we'll even have Formula Junior schools. So we have a junior karter school. So basically, the end of the school, we'll offer additional school just for kids, right? From 3:30 to 5:30, and then I instruct in every one of those schools, right,
That's
for the
cool.
kids.
Yeah.
So what happened is then the folks in Philadelphia brought back to the Philly region, and then all of a sudden more parents are getting interested, and now before you know it, they have 7 or 8 Formula Juniors
That's fun.
over there, right?
Yep.
In basically in 2012, 13, 14, 15, right?
Mhm.
Guess what happened to those kids?
Turn into adults.
they're turning into adults. So once they turned to adults, some crossed over to race cars. A lot of them stayed in karts, right? So that's why you go to a BMC event or you go to a Philly SCCA event, you will see a whole bunch of karter kids. 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. They're all little tiny kids. Back in the day, right? No, they're all adults, the same size of us, but they're still racing. So you can see that if you ever wonder if you go to a Ripken event that you saw a bunch of karts, running, right? And they all know each other. Yes, of course they know each other. Their parents is the one that kind of brought them there. And their parents are actually offshoots of what the DC karters were. So everything's interconnected. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
All right.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Danny. Next episode, we're going to be talking about Corvettes and shit boxes on street tires. We were going to continue the autocross car discussion next time. So now we have a surprise feature for everyone. With the last autocross event happening in 2 weeks, what to do if you want more car hobby fix. Since Danny and I are boring and have no other car hobbies, we are welcoming my gynecologist, Alan Claffey, to talk about cars and coffee.
Alan!
Oh, hi guys. Good to see you again.
How's the world of gynecology?
This is all new to me.
No, we need to stop letting Danny write the scripts is what we need to do.
Or someone else needs to.
Alan, you don't even know that in this episode you're a hemorrhoidologist.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is
Well,
either. Greg Pollack came up with that.
You can kind of guess what a hemorrhoidologist would be. So
hemorrhoid. Oh, there it goes. All right. So apparently my expertise has been called in. So what do you guys need to know?
So I got a question for you first, though, before Adam move on.
Okay, yeah,
right?
Danny first.
Do you even drink coffee?
No, I don't drink anything like adults do.
So that's 50% of the cars and coffee. Just
so we're calling the wrong
in the
guy,
garbage
man.
can.
Oh, okay. Well, I can help you with the cars part.
So what do you do with the coffee part?
Everybody else drinks coffee. I just stand around and drink Mountain Dew.
Oh, Danny, you really don't know.
I don't know.
People they'll be like they're at the Mikey and Mel's. There's a coffee shop, right? You just go get coffee.
Well, yeah, I know that cars and coffee
Yeah.
is cars and coffee.
Yeah, because it's early in the morning and you could sit there and drinking your coffee and talking about cars. You don't have to
Right.
do anything. You're standing around.
Yeah, I've been to one Cars and Coffee that really have a coffee shop right next door. Actually, two. But then the other Cars and Coffee was like right next to an ice cream place.
That's okay. Ice cream's fine. You can eat ice cream.
I don't know
Ice
if
cream
do ice
coffee?
cream at 8:00 in the morning though.
I mean, why
Yeah.
not?
That could be an issue. All right, okay. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'll take the coffee.
No, you can bring in great coffee questions whenever
All
you
right.
want.
Okay.
So Alan,
Yes, sir.
it's about to get very cold out here. Autocross is shutting down for the most part.
Sad.
Time trials, HPDEs, Track Night in America, everything is kind of winding down. The drag strip is closed. Like everything is done, with the exception of what's it called? Refrigerator Bowl. I think that starts in a little bit, but that's like once a month, maybe. I think it's not even
Once a month.
once a month. So you're the man, because I've seen you at a Cars and Coffee, and there was just like you're just wheeling and dealing.
Hard
you're
work is
shaking and
my
grooving.
expertise.
It is your expertise. So we wanted to have you on to talk about, hey, can we get some autocrossers out to Cars and Coffee? Why do you go to it? What do you like about it?
I just like looking at other people's cars, and it's not necessarily the exotics and the Camaros and the Mustangs. Like at car shows, there's the usual stuff. At Cars and Coffee, there tends to be a little bit more of a mix. There tends to be a lot more oddballs, so you never know what you're going to see.
So you weren't referring to Mustangs and Camaros as exotics at the beginning of that sentence.
No,
We're talking
there's-
about exotics and Mustangs.
Yes.
Okay,
Mustangs are not exotic in my book.
I didn't know where you're going with that, because I was like, I guess if you love something, it can be exotic, I guess, right?
I see a lot of exotic Miatas too.
Oh, yes. Oh, weren't you at a Miata Cars and Coffee?
I think. Well, there's some where the local Miata people all get together and try to congregate at once, but it doesn't happen that often.
So
That's
where
still
where do they do that?
So the one where like the Maryland Miata Club likes to get together is Mikey and Mel's, which is in Fulton, Maryland. That's a once a month thing, and it can get really big. And one of the nice things about that one is it doesn't start till like later in the morning, like 10 o'clock. So you don't have to get up stupid early like you do for some of the other ones.
So how many cars showed up for the Maryland Miata meet?
I think a dozen or so. It's it depends on weather and what else is going on. For some reason, when a lot of these Cars and Coffee, the ones that aren't every week are going on, they tend to be on the same weekend where I have an autocross to run, so I don't get to do a ton of them.
Mm-hmm. I saw you at the Mikey and Mel's, and there were hundreds of cars. I can't even.
Yeah, I
can't even guess how many cars were there.
Yeah, there was one of them I went to. It was like the first really nice weekend of the spring. And I showed up there stupid early because I didn't know what time it really got going. And I got there and I was like one of the first 20 cars there. I'm like, well, this isn't much. But by the time it really got going, it's a good sized parking lot and they filled the thing. And there are still people coming in trying to find places to park. So it gets big. It just doesn't happen as fast as some of the other places I've gone to.
All right. So once you get in there and park, can you tell us like what's going on? Like, so like in autocross, you park, you go register, and then you go tech and you walk the course and you race, then you go home, right?
So there's two different ways you can do Cars and Coffee. Some people will park their car, they'll get out, they'll give it a quick cleanup, they'll go in the trunk, take out a chair, they'll sit behind their car, and they'll just sit there for the entire thing. Now, what I like to do, this is something my dad taught me. He says, you park and you walk away from your car, and the next time you're anywhere close to your car is when you get in to leave. He says, I know what my car looks like. I want to see what everybody else brought. And I'm more like that second one. I know what my car is. I don't have to hang around and hope someone asks me questions about it. I'd rather see what everybody else has brought because it's probably cooler than what I have.
I like that.
So which one of you is a hard parker?
What do you mean?
Which one of who?
You buy it, you go there, you plop a seat down and sit down. Is that a hard parker?
No.
Hard parker, because they don't even look at what anyone else has. They sit there and they're like, everybody, look at what I got. And boy, I hope someone asks me a question because I'm just ready to tell them my life story and everything about the car, all the way down to what weight oil I run in it.
So that is the definition of a hard parker.
That is definitely hard parking. They don't even get coffee. They never leave their car.
They don't need coffee. They got their car.
Need coffee.
So all I can say is I've been to a Carson Coffee twice in my lifetime. Twice. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. One time I went to Katie's, right? And Katie's has a really good coffee place. So I went there. I got a hot chocolate. I got a chocolate croissant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked around and checked out some Ferraris.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I get back to my car and I got bored and I left.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. The problem with Katie's is that's the one. That's the granddaddy of them all. That's the numero uno in the area. And it's not a very big lot. So if you want to be in decent parking, you have to be there before the sun comes up. I've done that a few times. I don't think I've done that in probably 3 years. Just a thought, because it's an hour away from me.
Is it in Virginia or Potomac? Is that the one in Potomac?
It's in Great Falls.
Great Falls.
Virginia. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's the one where I would have to have the alarm go off at like 4:30, out the door at 5, get there for 6. And you get there and you park, and you're like, what am I even doing here?
Alan, that's earlier than an autocross. What are you
I
doing?
know. Well, yeah, I know. And I don't even get to drive anything. I just walk around. Again, it's not for everybody.
The one time I went there, I got there around like 6:45 and I had to park almost outside the shopping center.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that place get so full that people are just making their own parking places.
Wow.
And then you can't move around at all. It's ridiculous how big it's gotten, and kind of a surprise it hasn't been shut down because people do dumb things there.
Alan, have you been to Hunt Valley?
Yeah, I've been to Hunt Valley Horsepower. Okay. I actually like that one a lot, except that's even further away from home for me. That's another one of those where if the Miata Club people say, we're going to try and take over Hunt Valley, and I'll be like, I should join this party. And then the alarm goes off, and I said, no, I think I'm going to sleep in today.
So how many Carson Coffee are in the DMV area?
So there's a ton, but there's only like 4 or 5 really big ones.
One is in Annapolis, right? Somewhere.
There's one in Annapolis at City Docks. I haven't been to that one in a while because it's not a very big area. And if you don't get there early and get a decent parking place, then you're just parked out in the boondocks with regular traffic.
Yep. Have you been to the Ellicott City one?
I have not.
I think that they're called the Misfits. Started that one, and I think that they had some autocross heritage back in the day.
That might be the one that Brian Garfield's gone to.
Yes, Garfield's gone to it. Craig and his crew.
Misfits is the Soapbox Derby, downhill racing Soapbox Derby group.
Yeah, and they started Ellicott City Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, that's one with Fred Schroeder and then Fran Honeywell. Those guys. They actually have an episode on Motor Week that you guys should check out. Cool. Yeah, just check out Motor Week Misfits.
Yeah. I've been to that one a couple of times because it's like walking distance from my house.
That doesn't count if you don't bring a car.
I didn't bring a car the first time I went. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go home and get the car.
You just stand in a parking place and let people look at you?
No, I just pulled up in the truck. I was busy. We were going somewhere.
So Alan, can you tell us how many Carson Coffee are around here? Like name the locations, maybe.
All right, so
people know.
Sure.
Rank them. Make them
rank
do
them.
rank.
All right, so
we can rank them. Perfect.
Yeah.
Rank them. I'll give you a top
rankings.
I'll give you a top 5. So I think Katie's is still number 1 because
Okay, number 1.
it's the oldest one.
So you see Ferraris and Lamborghinis?
Oh, definitely. A lot of exotics, a lot of strange old cars you've never seen before. And then you'll walk around and you'll be like, that's a Cosworth Vega. And you say, when was the last time I saw a Cosworth Vega?
I saw a Gull Wing there one time, or like a 55 SL or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some amazing stuff to show up to there. I would probably rank Hunt Valley Horsepower as second, just as far as, again, it's a fun mix of stuff. The atmosphere isn't as nice as Katie's, because Katie's, there's a lot of shade and there's different levels of parking lots, and you kind of get the real high class stuff shows up and gets one certain lot, and then the other lots kind of get, the next step down. And Hunt Valley Horsepower is just a big free for all.
Yeah, I saw a tank there once. Like an actual tank.
They get military stuff there
with the treads like on the asphalt. Like it was literally tearing up the asphalt. I was like, what is going on right now?
That's probably not good for long-term health of it, but it's been around forever.
It was a big tank. I was like, what's going on?
All right, so I think number 3, I would probably give that one to Mikey and Mel's, which is, it's not really a Cars and Coffee, because I think a Cars and Coffee is an every week thing. And Mikey and Mel's is once a month, I think. But they fill the lot, and they don't get quite as many oddballs or quite as much exotic stuff. They have a certain little area in the front where you can pay and get primo parking, and that's where the big buck stuff goes.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just a lot of stock Corvettes and things like that. I think the next one in line would probably be the Dulles Landing Cars and Coffee, which has a Dunkin' Donuts, which helps. But that's a Sunday one. So like if your Saturdays are taken up, there are a lot fewer ones on Sundays. Dulles Landing is a good one for Sunday. It used to be kind of small, and now I think the last time I went, I showed up at 8:00 and it was already pretty much full. And that took me by surprise, because that hadn't been a problem before. And I think the last one, we have a Southern Maryland Cars and Coffee, and that's down near Lexington Park. That's a every other week one, and it kills me because the every other week they've been doing it this summer is the every other week where I've had somewhere else I had to be. So I think I've gone to 2 of them in the spring, and I haven't been back there since. Like we had a WDCR 2 weeks ago, which is when they were running. Then we had one this last week, and I couldn't go because we were running there. And then the next one's going to be on the 27th, and I can't make that one because I'm going to be in NCM. And then they're going to shut down for the winter, so I may have already gone to my last one this year. But that one is good because it's mostly Southern Maryland stuff, so you don't get, like sometimes you'll see the same cars at Katie's that go to Dulles Landing, and sometimes the same ones that go to Hunt Valley Horsepower or wind up in another one. The Southern Maryland one, you get a lot of stuff that doesn't really travel anywhere else, so it's a very different crowd. We've managed to pick up quite a few autocrossers there, and I think that's a nice plus.
That's always a plus.
Oh, so that guy that was driving Mustang in time trials, is that one of the guys that you met over there?
Yeah, I actually met him for the first time, Mark. I parked next to him, and I said, this car looks, like you see a Fox body Mustang, and the first thing you look and see if it's set up for drag racing, but he had a good splitter, and he had the same tires on all 4 corners. I'm like, maybe it's a road course car. And then he showed up, and we started talking, and we're best friends now. So
he's a fantastic guy, man. So
great guy.
That's super friendly. Awesome.
Definitely.
Alan with the highest bar possible. All 4 tires matched. Just
well, there's a ton of drag racing cars down to Southern Maryland one because we got Budds Creek not very far away. So usually if you see something built there, it's for drag racing. You don't see a ton of cars that turn corners there.
Yeah. The fact you didn't have donuts on the front, you were like, all right, my man.
Yep. He's one of us.
So I'm assuming that most people that watches this have been to a Cars and Coffee, but let's assume that maybe like people didn't go to Cars and Coffee.
I don't think we can make that assumption. I know Carwin's never been to a Cars and Coffee.
No,
he does. Well, I mean, he's like the only one, though.
No,
Yeah,
there's
okay,
no
he's
way. There's no way.
I don't think Pat Gaffney has been to a Cars and Coffee.
Oh, he should go. He'd be popular there.
He'd be absolutely popular.
All right, so Alan, for
Yes.
someone who's never been to a Cars and Coffee, what do you do? What do you do? So now we know that you can either get a chair, sit behind your car, or you can go out, walk around, never get close to your car. But what do you do? I mean,
Hold up, before Alan answers this, can I try to answer it, and then Alan, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong?
Go for it.
Okay.
you're gonna go to a driver's meeting and blow it up. That's
I think no. I think the way that I've only done a handful of Cars and Coffee, maybe 2 a year for the last couple of years, right? But I approach it like the heat, where you're not running and you're not working.
Except you can't get into their passenger seat and ask them to drive you around for a while.
That's true. You can't actually do anything. Yeah,
You
you're right.
can't do the
Never mind.
CDC
I tried.
ride along thing. But other than that, it's like an autocross. You walk through grid and it's a car show, except you get to ride along if you want. This one, usually there's so many cars you can't really linger on anything in particular, but you never know what's around the next corner. And you say, "Oh, there's another Miata," and if you're lucky, the owner might be standing there, and you can kind of shoot the breeze on what they've done to their car, and they'll say, "Well, what did you bring?" And I say, "Well, I got the one over there," and they'll say, "What did you do to that one?" And you get a lifelong friend out of it.
That's
Or
awesome.
you put your earbuds in, you'd be completely antisocial. There really aren't any rules.
so. How many autocrossers have you met over there at a Cars and Coffee?
At the Southern Maryland one, we've got like 7 or 8 of us who, I don't know if they all knew each other before they started autocrossing, but I noticed there were some small sports cars. There was Caleb with his RX-8, and Eric Clary had his red Miata. Daniel Cody with his MR2 Spider. The silver Skyline. Yeah, they were all parked around each other, and it's like all of a sudden you see them starting to show up at Waldorf for our autocrosses. And now when we go to the Cars and Coffee, we all park together and we break down the courses, break down how we did. So we have our own little Cars and Coffee autocross group
I love it.
down there. I've only run into, sporadic one here, one there at Katie's or Dulles. It's not nearly as many as we get down south.
So, am I safe to say that most of the XA and XP crowd nowadays are all Cars and Coffee guys?
Well, we all got the Wings, and Wings score huge points at Cars and Coffee. I mean, nobody looked at my car before I put the wing on, and now it's like I gotta put the ropes around the car to keep people from drooling all over it.
Yup, men.
So can I
women,
make a
children.
safe assumption that Glenn Lowe and Mike Brown are like the biggest Cars and Coffee fan because they try to put the biggest wing on there possible?
If they go, they will get primo parking. They will never be able to walk away from their car because there'll just be a steady stream of people asking them about it, trying to take pictures of it, trying to buy the car off of them, trying to steal the car.
Is it like Disney where there's just a long line of people trying to get their picture taken with the princesses?
Absolutely. It's just like that. Never happened to me before the wing. Now it's all that happens.
So is it possible to change XA and XB to CCA and CCB?
Oh, you might be onto something there. Let's write those letters.
Ooh, I like that.
All right. So I have another question.
Yes, sir.
We're seeing strange phenomenon popping up. A lot of them at time trials and stuff that now they're combining time trials or track crosses with Cars and Coffee.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
believe me, when we
What
go
the heck
to
is that?
when we go to NCM for Time Trial Nationals, the highlight of my week there is the expo.
The highlight of the week was that food truck. Holy cow.
All right.
That food truck was amazing at the Cars and Coffee.
You guys are
Right.
speaking my language. Oh,
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean,
No, so-
I'm telling you, it's amazing. That food truck is amazing.
Is it as good as the food truck in AMP?
Well, the AMP tacos are like the out of this world. I mean, that's
I'd never had
unbelievable.
food truck food that good, and I used to work in DC.
But this place has got shrimp and grits. You know, like they're chicken tenders melt in your mouth. Like
Hold on,
butter.
we're going to Kentucky.
No, this one's a VIR.
This is VIR.
I didn't have anything at VIR.
I don't want to.
That's where that's where the food truck was, Alan.
No,
No,
I
he
don't
said
go to food truck. I'm a
NCM.
cheapskate.
Oh, you didn't eat there?
No. I had
Yeah,
tacos.
me and Mahevka chowed down, man. We ate everything.
Anyway,
But-
back to my point. So we
Yeah.
have the so at the time trials, I forget, was it Thursday night? They have the expo where they group you all by your class at different places in the infield or in the paddock. And that's the place where your competitors can check your car out, make sure you're all up to so
Impound.
everyone's car is there, and it's just like Cars and Coffee, where everybody comes up to me and says, "Alan, your car looks amazing." And I say, "Yes,
Yes,
I would win everything if this was a car show." Unfortunately, it's not a car show. They track your laps and publish the results, and then the car doesn't look quite so good. But for that Thursday night, I am a god to them.
So Impound is literally a car show.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
so
It's
cool.
it's the welcome dinner in car show.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a barbecue night.
I can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's good. Last time was like hot dogs, so it wasn't too hot.
Oh, that's right. I mean, yeah, I get it's the burger
I
and
mean,
buns.
I'll eat a hot dog.
It was good.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap this up, so for at DMV, when you get bored, would you think that going to Carson Coffee during the winter is the right move, or is there anything else that we can do?
Well, there's one thing we tried to do probably about 10 years ago. A group of us said, you know what we're going to do is once a month we're going to get together, we're going to do indoor karting.
God.
And we did it once, and we never did it again. I don't really know what happened there, but that one time we went, it was pretty fun.
So does Carson Coffee run all year long? I mean, in the wintertime, can we still go?
Most of them do. Katie's, Hunt Valley Horsepower, Dulles, they're all year round every week. The one in Southern Maryland shuts down for like November through February. They'll pick it up again in March, I think. Mikey and Mel's is once a month. I don't know off the top of my head if they do, if they take a couple of the cold months off or not.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine most of them are every week, year round, just because it's not a lot of work to put those on.
Yeah. All right. So if people are interested in this segment or interested in Carson Coffee, like put them in the comments. Let us know. Maybe we'll add them into the events page.
Well, we got to do something over the winter. It's going to get really boring really fast.
I liked your go-karting idea. My back hurts. But like I really like the idea. So Danny, let's have a talk.
I have a ton of car work I have to do. So, I mean,
Artwork?
I won't be bored.
Car work.
Yeah. I got to still work on my car.
All winter long?
Yeah, man.
All winter long.
Oh, yeah.
You want to have a free 2-hour period to go-karting?
I'm adding another 200 horsepower to my Porsche.
Alan, can you make
no.
it stop? Can you make it stop?
I already have all the parts. I just haven't had time to put it on.
You've had the parts for a year.
Well, like a year and a half.
What's the rush?
I bought it last Christmas.
What's the rush, Danny? Take your time.
What's the rush?
Yeah. All right. So with that said, well, thank you, Alan. I think now Alan is losing interest, going from Carson Coffee to Pugs now. So
Oh.
It's Hondo. Hey, Hondo. Say hi, Hondo.
Hi. Oh my God.
how come Hondo looks like he looks like oh my God? You know what he looks like to me?
Afraid to ask.
An alligator.
That's not. No.
Nope.
No. Looks like
Alligators
a
have
cute bug. That's not.
alligators have snouts.
Nope. Doesn't
He
look
doesn't
like an
have a
alligator.
snout. He's
He
a
literally is the opposite of an alligator, Danny. Like, actually the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't know, Danny.
All
You
right.
start your sim racing yet?
No.
That's
still-
what you're going to do over the winter.
I'm going to set up sim racing. So maybe our next special feature is we'll be asking Alan how to show us how to sim race.
Yeah.
Oh, then I have to set mine up too.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So with that said, thank you to Addis gynecologist, Alan.
Not my gynecologist.
Who writes this stuff?
Somebody comes up with that stuff. But anyway, we'll catch a special segment with Alan next time. Maybe next time we talk about hemorrhoids.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Alan.
You gotta warn me about this stuff before I come on, because then I can.
I
say
don't get a
no.
warning. I'm reading it and it's like he's my hemorrhoidologist, and I'm like, what does that even mean?
Same.
Well, Great Pollock wants me to do it, so there.
Just because Pollock wants you to do something doesn't mean you do it. Okay,
not
called
all
peer
of
pressure.
Greg's ideas are winners.
That's right.
Most of them are winners, but
a lot
not
of them are. Yeah.
not all of them. Like when
Yeah.
he makes up words.
I agree. All right. Okay, great. We'll have another feature with Alan soon up. And then right now, we'll go back to the rest of the scheduled programming. Already complete the progress. See you later.
See you later. See you, Danny.
See ya.
See you, Alan.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
This concludes our podcast episode. Everybody is excused except for the novices. Our novice meeting begins now. All right, for today's novice meeting, we are going to be talking about how to review my runs when I get home, and how does that actually help me? What do you think, Danny?
Does that help you?
How does it help me? Does it help me? How do I review my runs? I'm not even at the autocross anymore. Like,
Right.
what steps do I take? I'm guessing this is all mental, right? Like mental preparation, mental game. But what do I do, and how does it help me?
Right. So I think we can break this thing down by a couple different ways of thinking about this, right? So if you follow
there's prerequisites first.
yes.
You need the
So-
data to review.
That's correct. So if you follow Daniel McFarland's episode, right, where he talks about how to record them and what software that you use and stuff,
Yeah.
he's primarily doing it so that you can actually review it instantaneously right after the run, right? And then he goes home and build a video for his own enjoyment, right? So the way that he does it allows you to review it right away so that you can actually apply the changes or whatever on the following runs. So products like what Daniel's using, right? Also on Solo Storm and all that stuff, those are primarily designed for review immediately after the runs.
Okay.
Right. What we're talking about here is once we get home, how do we review, right? So if we do that, if you do a post type of review and not review it right on site, then you can use cheaper equipment to do this, right? You literally don't need a data analysis software for Solo Storm and other stuff to kind of track any of that information. A simple GoPro with the GPS built in is good enough, right? Or you can have a GoPro have your separate GPS, but then again, you have to record that GPS data, right? The easiest way, in my mind, to do this, if you decide that you want to basically analyze or watching your runs afterwards, is take a GoPro Black prior to version 12. Because I think Daniel told us that GoPro 12 no longer provides internal GPS for recording.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe GoPro 4 is the first one that starts with the internal GPS. So now between 4 and 11, you can simply turn GPS on. So when you take your video, it actually gives you that GPS file, right? Then once you have that, you can feed it through Race Render. Race Render is either free, or I think it's $29 for the regular version. That's not a free version. The difference is the free version limits to 4 minutes. And then it also puts a big Race Render logo on it. And if you pay for it, no more logo, and you can go as long as you want, right? So, and then what you do is once you have that, you feed your GoPro file into Race Render. Race Render will automatically detect that, hey, there's associated data, GPS data to it. And then you tell them that, okay, yes, I want to include that data. And then immediately now you have your data, whatever that GPS is collecting with your runs. Right. And then, so what I like to do is I utilize the speed trace and as well as the lateral G force,
Mhm.
right? And I use those two, and then I build my videos. So every one of my video has a speed and it has a lateral G
Okay.
on it. And then afterwards, I started watching them. So I don't use any kind of a data to do that because I'm watching at home. So for me, it's the ability of analyzing your video and look at your speed trace and so on to see, hey, am I doing well and am I not doing well? So to me, it's 100% necessary because it serves two purposes. One is I can go back in and say, I can pick up time here and there. Why didn't I do that before?
Okay.
And the reason I don't do that before during a race is because I want to yap. I don't feel like sitting over there by myself looking at the data.
I feel like you're attacking me right now.
No, I do the same now. I mean, I've done so many times. I'm not going to sit over there and look at a run and say, can I beat Marcus Pine by 1 second or whatever? Because I've been losing to him by 1.5 seconds. So what's the point? I can review all the data I want all day long. I'm still going to be 1.5 seconds behind.
Every time I'm within 3 seconds of Marcus, I feel like I'm the winner and he's the loser.
So like I hate to be the jerk that tells you guys that when you look at the data and say, oh my God, what can I gain another 10th, right? I mean, it depends on who you're running against. If you run against someone that you're only a 10th behind, yes, you got to look at the data.
Look at the data.
But when I'm 1.8 seconds behind Marcus, I want to get to 1.5. It's okay. I just drive harder.
Well, if you only want to close that gap 3/10, I still say look at the data.
Yes, if it's 3/10, yes.
Yeah.
But like 1 second
from 1.8 to 1.5, so you want to get them within that 1.5 second range.
Right.
Yeah.
I say you might as well yap, go to the bathroom, get something to drink. That'll be better. But reviewing afterwards is a good thing. So one is you review afterwards and then you can really see and say, oh, well, this was a pretty good run. I don't even know what the time went. And then that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it and say, oh, what the heck was that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then next time, if you manage to remember that, you can say, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And then because that's the time that you can actually review it and get some benefits out of it because you can watch a video 2, 3, 4 times and it sinks right in. And then next time you can make the change so you don't make the same mistake ever again, hopefully.
Sure.
Right. And the other thing I like to do is I like to go home, the video right away and put them on Facebook or put them on whatever. And that's not me posting something for you all to see. That's me documenting to say, I was here at this particular event and that's what I drove and I lost to Marquez Pine by 1.8 seconds. Yep. But the previous event, I lost to him by 2.3 seconds. So there's an improvement.
That's why I have my own YouTube channel. It's just for myself to look back in 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, and just for fun. I think that's
exactly what I do. I use Facebook as my diary. So I don't have that many Facebook friends. So I don't accept every friend's request on Facebook because I don't know if they really want to see what I'm doing, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, it's documenting my life. So it's very personal. Yep. Yeah. So that's why I don't have 3,000 friends, right? Mm-hmm. But the review and the runs definitely helps you because there are two things that helps you. Again, I keep on mentioning these two things. One is if you see some major mistakes or whatever, this is one thing that you'll remember. And also when you go to the next event or years later or a few years later or a few months later, you can go back and review the same video if you go back to the same venue. Mm-hmm. Then you can see this is what I did last time. Don't do that again. Mm-hmm. Right. And then the second thing is it documents my race so that it made me feel like I've completed the day and I've done something today. Right. So that's more of a psychological, kind of a thing. So there's a bunch of other stuff that you can talk about that helps you, but I want to sort of make it simple. Right. Mm-hmm. One is you correct big mistakes. And then the second thing is for your own entertainment, for today or the future. So those are the two things that actually helps.
I love it.
All right.
So one last next question about this. Do you recommend for people to do this even if they don't plan? Say you were talking about going back later, the two reasons you gave. Do you recommend this for everyone? Because say you don't check each one of those boxes individually. Right.
I would say having data is a cool thing, right? I mean, especially if you're a geek,
sure.
You want to see some data and then see what the differences are. Like, wow, man, I'm watching data. But I think the bottom line is every autocrosser or everybody, they really should record your runs and then put it there.
Okay, but
right?
say I'm me, right? I'm not that fast. I'm not a second or two off of Marcus. is it still worth doing? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you 18 years ago when I would record my first video, and then the video just kind of shakes around because the quality was so bad, like there's no image stabilization, right?
Yep.
And then it was at Ripken, and it was Greg Olson showing me how to autocross in the autocross school, right? I still got that video.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So if anything, it has a lot to do with different personalities and stuff like that.
Mhm.
If you're the type that goes on vacation and you take pictures of you and your family, and then years later you look at it and say, oh man, I was here and there and there. Yeah, then you're the guy that's supposed to record your race videos, right?
Yeah.
But if you're the type that if you go on a vacation, you never take any pictures and you don't get any souvenirs, you don't write a letter, you don't talk about it, you just say, okay, I've been there, done that, see ya, right? Then you probably don't need that.
You probably don't need that. But then again, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
No, you wouldn't
Right.
care.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're probably like
That's
Ted Kaczynski or something, like you're the Unabomber.
Oh, okay. And on that note, the Unabomber, thank
Yeah.
you so much for reminding us about the Unabomber. I think that can wrap up this novice meeting. Any final
That's right.
thoughts, Danny?
Nope. I think we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. So this wraps up our 21st episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. And thank you for spending the last, I don't know how many minutes with us. And again, we hope you find this informative and fun.
And don't forget to join us for the next episode. And until then, keep those tires on the track and keep that wing in the back.
All right, we're back to everyone's favorite segment, Ask Uncle Danny. Welcome back. Okay, so this one's really cool because I've talked to you about this before, so I kind of know what's up a little bit with this one. It's exciting, it's fun, it's Ask Uncle Danny. Hit us with some other hobbies that are fun. And what have you done before you started autocrossing? And this is my favorite story.
Oh my
here.
God.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I love it.
Well, I'm a hobby guy.
Started from the top, baby.
Starting from the top, I'm from Taiwan. So baseball.
Baseball and
That's not baseball.
I was shooting.
Oh, and basketball.
I was basketball.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think my number one love or hobby was baseball because every kid who grew up in Taiwan is into baseball. Now, back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I got to the States in 79. Somehow I just started playing basketball. So I played basketball for many years. Then I got married. And of course, then I have to work and I got no money. I started actually playing golf for like 6 months and I realized I can't afford it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then by that time, my brother is continuously kicking my butt in basketball. Every time he comes and visit, my brother's a professional basketball player. So I can't play basketball because I sucked. So I started running. Yeah, I did 3 years of marathon running. I ran against Oprah.
That's awesome.
In 1994.
Did you beat her?
Yeah. And I walked the last 3 miles.
Oh, man.
Well, anyway, then golf came back. I played golf for another, 7, 8, 9 years. I guess that's when I figured out that I have this obsessive compulsive, personality. So every hobby I get into, I'm like heavily into it. I think I talked about this before. I used to play 500 rounds of golf a year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that was a lot of golf. And I play so much, I went to hospital. So I don't recommend that, actually. So then after that, I got into motorcycle racing. So I did a couple of years of like fixing motorcycles and race motorcycles. Got my racing license through CCS and WERA. I did a couple of races. Then I find out that's not for me because I saw a couple of people went home on stretchers. I was like, no.
Yep.
So, and then I started bicycle riding and did a couple of bicycle races. And that's when I started autocrossing. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So quite a few different things.
Well, of the not including autocross, if you could rank like your top 3, what would they be? What would they look like?
I would say I think golfing.
Golfing is number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I was never that good. I played to a 7 handicap for the last 3 years. I did play some really cool places like Pebble Beach and Pinehurst, or at Pebble Beach, I played Spyglass Hills and I played Spanish Bay. Yeah, the Pinehurst, we played, I think 2, 3, 5, 7. I mean, some of those courses. It's actually very similar when I play those courses as if I go to VIR or Watkins Glen or Daytona or Sebring, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Or Rhode Island, Barber. It's the same. Like Barber is like a country club.
Yeah.
And then, so when you showed up at Barber, it feels like I'm going to Pinehurst.
Barber's so nice. I still can't get over it.
Yeah. So
Every blade of grass, perfect. Like what?
I know you walk in there, it's like a golf course, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. So the first time I went to VIR, it gave me that same feeling that I'm going to a beautiful golf course. So I think the similarity is once you're competent in knowing the hobby, it actually can execute and have a good time, regardless on what the environments or temperatures or weather conditions, right? And you have met with a certain set of friends that are nice and easy to hang out with.
Yep.
These hobbies are actually very similar. So I always treat going to an autocross now like I used to go to a weekend golf
That's awesome.
in the past, right?
Yeah.
And or similar to, hey, let's go, play basketball on a Tuesday night. And then there was a group of people who were in the gym and or playing the league or something like that. It's very, very similar, actually. So I think that all the hobbies end up to be the same. And once you start getting used to it and you get to a certain point, then your personality actually drives exactly how you want those events to be, right? So I don't think that is a good idea to just have one hobby, right? I think right now I'm stuck with one hobby. I've been doing this for 18, 19 years, but I would never forget about, okay, hey, Danny, do you want to go play a round of golf? When my shoulder was good enough,
Right.
I will still go out and do different things. I don't get fixated on one thing. I don't come back and say, oh, I'm only doing this. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you keep all your hobbies and keep all your skills and sort of relevant, you got to keep those hobbies going. It only makes you feel better.
I love it. So you're even recommending, hey, pick up another hobby if you want to, or hobby you used to do before autocross. You could still do that. You could still have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that, right? So I know Alan, autocrosses, but the Alan and Kay also play pickleball.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I go hiking all the time.
That's great.
We hike a lot. And then I know in the summertime, we go to a couple concerts always, right? We always try to pick a concert that we couldn't see back in the 80s.
You know who else golfs is Glenn Kruger and Nate Atkins. They golf together. Yeah. I got to go.
There are a lot of guys that golf together. I mean, believe it or not, there's always a Monday golf outing at Nationals. So during SEC Nationals, like on Monday, and then usually we go golfing. And then the strangest thing is, these fast people, like really, really fast drivers, they're also very good golfers.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know so many of these guys. Like, I just show up like, okay, here, I'm just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
And then I figure I'm a semi-handicap. I know how to play.
Yeah.
And I go in there and we stay at the first tee. Let's say I hit the ball, I don't know when, I went like 260, right?
Okay.
And then some dude will come up, and like it was a previous national champion, says, oh, I haven't played golf in 4 years, goes in and hits a 300-yard drive.
Just crushes it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Dr. Stronach came in and then make all the putts,
My goodness.
Yeah. And I remember Dave O'Malley sinks everything, like knows how to chip, knows how to putt, knows how to hit balls. And, I have a friend of mine named Eric Brown that I co-drove with him in 2018. He comes up, he's like, I've never played golf before. He hits a ball 350 yards straight.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, we have really a lot of good athlete golfers that are disguise themselves as nerdy autocrossers.
Oh my God. I love it.
And then again, we will have some nerdy autocrosser that doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you never know. You never know. I think some people are just naturally very talented and they can do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like any sport.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Danny. And that was a great Ask Uncle Danny yet again. I love asking Uncle Danny. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
See ya.
See ya.